M.U.S.H.A is one of those games that really doesn't need an introduction, but since I'm going to be comparing it directly to Robo Aleste, I feel like I need to talk about it first. The intro stage shows us all that this game has to offer right away, no beating around the bush. While pushing forward, our squad is taken out. Bam! There's some nice backstory and motivation for our mission. As soon as that happens, a bunch of enemies start surrounding us, and we've got to shoot our way out. At the same time, the first standard power-ups falling from the sky, slowly drifting back and forth across the screen. If we're able to shoot it and collect the chips that fall out, we're given a little friend. Oh, hey guy. And while all this is going on, we're trying to stay alive, fighting off this huge structure that what, it gets away? No way, we gotta go get this thing! Not seconds later, we're introduced to the first power-up in the game. The game gives us a little green laser and immediately gives us another green laser icon showing us how to upgrade our weapons. As the level continues, we get to see all of our power-ups, the blue and orange icons, we get to fight a mini-boss, and we get to beat the crap out of that jerk from before, all while rocking out to a beautiful soundtrack. On the subject of music, god damn, the music is good. Full Metal Fighter and Armed Armor are two of my favorite tracks. Look them up if you ever need to bang out an essay as fast as possible. They're really motivating. The music really carries you through the whole game. It helps you connect with the character, and you really feel like this is a last-ditch effort to save the Earth, and you've got to give it your all! The soundtrack fits the imagery perfectly, and the scenery in this game is really a spectacle. I mean, who can forget these falling tiles, or these dudes jumping out of the clouds? It's brilliant! Okay. Beautiful game, beautiful music, but how's the gameplay? Well, let me tell you, Compile did not do a bad job. Movement feels accurate. The sprite's legs even wiggle back and forth when you move. Oh, it's so cute. It's really satisfying to shoot your weapons, and dodging enemy fire feels really natural. It really feels like you have a lot of control over your character. The only minor complaint that I really have with the controls is that you have to hit the B and C buttons in order to fire. Well, B button fires your sub-weapons and C button fires your main weapons. I don't really understand why. It seems like they could have both been mapped to the same button, but I'll let it slide this time, M.U.S.H.A. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you can control your speed at any time. Thank you, Compile. My god, I wish more games did this. I'm looking at you, Truxton. Now, the power-ups are where I think this game really shines. A lot of older shooters, especially on the Genesis, have a one-hit death policy, and I understand where they're coming from with this, but it's really nice to have a little leeway. Thankfully, M.U.S.H.A gives us this. A lot of other games have shield drops in addition to power-ups. I'm looking at you now, Darius Gaiden. But in M.U.S.H.A, your sub-weapons are both. If you get hit while you have one equipped, it'll just fall off. This changes a lot of the meta in M.U.S.H.A. Now sub-weapons aren't just a good offense, but they're a necessary defense. The same can be said about your friends, too. Depending on how you choose to position them, they can either be great offensive help, or they can take a hit for you. You can even pin them inside your own hitbox to protect them. Mutual symbiosis, am I right? But let's get back to the sub-weapons. Having only sub-weapon drops instead of sub-drops and shield drops means you can always count on another shield to come relatively soon. Sorry boys, not taking any prisoners today. Oh shoot, this is really not a good time to not have a sub button. Oh my god, please, stay alive, stay alive! Oh my god, thank god. Now all of this, and not to mention a fairly forgiving hitbox, M.U.S.H.A is easily one of the best, most enjoyable shooters on the Genesis. But there are a few minor gripes that I do have with the game. Despite getting that extra hit on sub-weapons, if you die in some of the later levels, it's pretty difficult to keep going. If you just lose a life, it's one thing, but if you're trying to use a continue, you don't have any friends left, and you're pretty screwed at that point. And the bosses, they're fine. I mean, most of the bosses are kind of forgettable, at least I think so. There's really only a handful that stand out. This creepy face woman in particular, ugh, get out of here, you're bleeding all over the place. Overall, I'm just not terribly impressed with most of the boss designs in this game, at least compared to other shooters that I've seen on this system, and what? You're back again? Jeez, get out of here. Oh my god, stop that. I do find it funny that the back of the box boasts, "The front of a 10-screen menace, not even a boss!" I'd also like to make another point about the sub-weapon system. This isn't a gripe really, I just find it kind of weird. When you go from level 3 to level 4 on the blue or orange sub-weapons, it feels much more like a side grade than an upgrade. On the blue you go from 2 large spinning blue spheres to 2 smaller spinning blue spheres that also fire some other blue spheres. These ones don't spin them. For orange you go from 3 long explosion bombs to 2 long explosion bombs and a black hole that lines enemies up with your fire. But might also pull enemies directly in front of you. It's kind of weird. But for green, you go from 2 big lasers to 560 nanometers of pure destruction. It all just seems kind of off balance to me. Overall, M.U.S.H.A is a really solid game. Great music, really beautiful level design, and a healthy and fair challenge to boot. Unfortunately, at the time of this recording, M.U.S.H.A costs upward of $200 if you want the real deal card alone, so it becomes really difficult to recommend. I would suggest downloading it on the Wii's Virtual Console, but you can't really do that since Nintendo took the Wii's Virtual Console down, so there's not really any legitimate ways to play this game on a budget. If you can find it for $100, I'd go for it. M.U.S.H.A wouldn't be the last game in the Aleste series, though. Released in 1992, Robo Aleste was met with decent reviews. Being on the Sega CD, it doesn't seem like too many people played it, bought it, or have even really heard of it. M.U.S.H.A has grown rather famous in recent years because of how expensive it's become, but Robo Aleste won't cost you nearly half as much as M.U.S.H.A would. Now if you search online for reviews of this game, it gets amazing scores, 9 out of 10, great game, 5 out of 5 plus a thumbs up. And that brings me to the point of this video. I actually really dislike this game, like I hate it. It's possible that comparing it to M.U.S.H.A is what makes it seem so flawed in my eyes, but I can't help but compare it due to just how similar they are. Now before I start shitting on this game, let me at least talk about the things that I do like about it. For one, the game starts off with an amazing intro cutscene. I mean, like, this thing is fire. The voice acting is so bad, and the visuals are like actually really cool that it creates this amazing sense of, oh my god, this game exists, this is perfect. The story is basically that you're flying this mecha robot
powered by a steam engine,
and you're trying to save Nobunaga Oda and your brother's there. I don't know, it's fine, whatever, I don't know. You get to see most of the story throughout the game, but I'll get into that later too. I think the whole premise of being in a feudal Japan society powered by steam-powered, or wait, is it electrical? Robots is really freaking cool, and it gives the game a lot of really cool set pieces and places to fight. There's been a few changes to gameplay this time around. Now instead of collecting your friends from capsules, you just start off with them, and they're invincible, so that's neat. Also, when you die, you're given your last power-up upon death, so you're never really left out in the open without a sub-weapon. I'll get into the sub-weapons later, though. The bosses this time around I think are way cooler. I mean, look at all these things. You've got trains and men walking around that die really quickly if you have the yellow power-up. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Now the music this time isn't bad, but it sure as hell ain't on par with M.U.S.H.A. The story takes a more front-seat approach this time, which I personally don't really care for. It tends to pop up in weird spots, like it's always in the beginning and the end, but it seems like they didn't really think about where they were putting these dialogue boxes or how it would affect the gameplay. It really gives a jaggedy, janky feeling to the game. It's really weird that they did this considering the manual literally and explicitly states the first non-stop combat shooter on the Sega CD. You can still control your ship speed, but I feel like the ship moves way too fast for how large it is. Not only that, but it's really difficult to see a lot of the enemy fire. It tends to blend in with the background far too much, and sometimes enemies just pop out of nowhere too. Now, as I said before, one-hit death games were really popular back then, and unfortunately, Robo Aleste follows that trend. Gone is the safety of sub-weapons. Unfortunately, the game still plays like you should have safety from them, just like M.U.S.H.A. Everything moves so fast that it feels almost unfair at times. The first level has a ridiculous number of enemies and shots flying around, like what the heck, this is the intro stage, how am I supposed to dodge this? Remember how in M.U.S.H.A you're given 2 of the same power-ups right away to show you how to upgrade your weapons? Well, they don't do that here. The power-ups that they give you are random, like they cycle through, but the first power-up that you get in the game might not be the same your second time playing. Not only that, since there's more of them this time, it takes much longer to cycle through all of them, so you barely ever have time to upgrade your weapons, and if you get hit, your sub-weapons just go down, and you just don't have any time to upgrade them. It's impossible unless you memorize the entire game. And I can hear it right now. All you just saying, "Oh, just get good, loser. You're just bad at this game, you idiot." Well, why would I want to get good at a game that I don't want to play? A good vertical shooter gives you some leeway. M.U.S.H.A and Darius Gaiden give you this in the form of shield power-ups. Truxton does also have a one-hit death, but you get bombs to clear the screen if you're in a tight jam. Even the Toho games do this. Not having sub-weapons count as a shield, and not having a safety clear-all bomb to rely on, make Robo Aleste a chore to play, because it means you need to memorize every bit of every level, and I just don't have time to die, and die, and die again until I have every level memorized. At least your main throwing knives don't go down to 0 when you die, right? Well, yeah, but they don't really do anything. Like, the sub-weapons are so much better in this game than your throwing knives are that there's almost no point in having them fully powered up, and even if they are fully powered up, it makes all the chips that you collect useless because you don't need to stock up on your friends. Oddly enough, there's also no sound effect when you shoot them, and I don't know, it just makes me feel weird seeing that. Instead of trying to make a sequel to M.U.S.H.A, they should have just made a vertical shooter that borrowed elements from it. I honestly believe that giving this game a clear bomb or a shield power-up would have really helped it out. I think having the story intermixed with the gameplay was really cool. There's some hilarious but awesome cutscenes throughout the game, if you can even get that far. This game is a mess, and I think M.U.S.H.A deserves a better sequel than this. If you disagree with me, I would love to have a dialogue about it. I am curious to hear why people like this game, because you know why I don't like it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to make more of these in the future.